Happy Wednesday, January 1st, 2020. Hope you had a wonderful beginning of this new year's. We are in Psalms 25 and also the first chapter of Proverbs. I'm going to pass it to my son because I know that he received great truths and perspectives from both chapters. So Psalms 25, what, son?
Proverbs 1.
You're going to go there first.
Verse 5, wise men will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsels. It's always important to hear everybody's perspective on things, so that way you know how to approach it. So, and it's like, when you're about to make a decision, like, don't only take one stance, like, make sure you're approaching things from all angles and weighing the pros and cons of it. So it's important to listen. Then, like, it's important to listen over than talk, because the more you listen, the more insight you're gaining, and the more you talk, the more you just, I don't know, your knowledge doesn't change when you talk, but you can know more the more you listen.
Speaking of knowledge, in this chapter, what is the source of knowledge? In verse 7, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. But fools despise. I don't want to hear that wisdom and instruction. And you're talking about hearing. It's easy for us to turn a deaf ear and ignore. But in verse 8, it says, my son, hear the instruction, right, of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother. And it goes all the way to the last verse. But whoso hearkeneth, listens to wisdom and instruction unto me, shall dwell safely, right? You want a stress-free path in life for 2020, for the next 12 months or however long the Lord gives us? Well, the promise in that verse says he will have us to dwell in protection, right? To stay under the shadow of the Almighty. And the second part of that verse says, and be quiet from fear of evil. We can hear statistics all year, and they're saying that, crime is down or murders are down. But so far there was one shooting. Thank the Lord that she survived. She was just sitting in the living room, and a bullet just came through the window. We can be quiet. We can dwell at ease no matter what is going on. And we're in Psalms 25, verse 13. While we're dwelling in ease, it says, his soul shall dwell at ease, stress-free, and his seed shall inherit the earth. Who? The person who fears the Lord. So that's the secret of the Lord, is with them that respects and reveres him. Amen. Let's see. Something else from the first chapter of Proverbs. It's talking about over and over how the Lord will pour out his spirit, and he will make his words known to his people as we respect him. But we don't ever want this to happen in our troubles, where it says, you know what? The Lord said, I'm going to ignore you. I'm going to talking about hearing, a deaf ear to you. It says in verse 26, I also will laugh at your calamities and troubles. I will mock you when your fear cometh. Why? Because we didn't regard his sayings and his instruction, and distress will come. So we don't want that. We want the Lord to always be attentive to our cries. So let's make sure that we're listening to his instruction and not be one that hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord, which is in verse 29. Okay, we are in Psalms 25. What spoke to you?
21.
21.
Let integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait on thee.
Yeah.
It's very important to be able to do good things when you're not being acknowledged for it or rewarded for it. Yes. That's when it's truly a good action, or a good or when you're actually doing good. Because when you're just doing it for other people to see, then that's just like, you just want a reaction out of it. So it's not really actually good. It's not actually a good deed.
No, we want only the applause and the affirmation of the Father, right? We want to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. Now come with me into paradise. What spoke to me is to stay in that position of ease and safety and making sure that we're pleasing the Lord at all times. Unto thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul. Earlier, we talked about lifting up our eyes to the hills, which cometh our help. And also in Psalms 24, lift up your head, O ye gates, for the King of glory will come in. We just want the Lord to be lifted up in our life all throughout 2020 and the rest of our lives. So that's the only person or the only being that we want to please and get the approval of, and to lift up our hands and lift up our whole life too. Okay. Well, I hope you have a wonderful evening preparing for this year, and know that the Lord is worthy to be lifted up at all times. Enjoy his blessings.